Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name's Neil and it's time for another weekend movie. Today we are going to watch Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I've been a Quentin Tarantino fan from the very beginning. I discovered Reservoir Dogs when I was in college in the university's little art house theater. The movie wasn't doing big multiplexes very much at the time. It was still kind of an underground cult hit. My friends and I discovered it and we became instant fans of Quentin Tarantino's style, his unique dialogue, his plotting, his storytelling. Soon after, out came True Romance, which Tarantino wrote. He didn't direct it. I believe he sold the script to help finance Reservoir Dogs, and it was another big hit. So everyone was super excited for Pulp Fiction when that came out in 1994. I actually managed to secure tickets to the premiere when it came out, not in LA, but in Ottawa, where I was at the time. Yeah, I've followed his career very closely ever since. I even actually got to work with him on set once, on the set of a Muppet movie, The Muppets Wizard of Oz. He did a cameo and hung out on set for a couple of days with the Muppets, and what an awesome experience that was. But this movie is the only one of his that I haven't yet seen. I have been exposed to this movie, but I haven't yet watched it. It came out in 2019, and at the time I was in the middle of backpacking around the world. In the summer of 2019, I was in Greece on the island of Crete in a town called Chania, and the hostel that I was staying in was next door to an outdoor theater. That theater was playing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and from our room in the hostel, that you could see the outdoor screen and you could hear the dialogue. I didn't sit down and watch it from my room, but you were exposed to it when you were in the room. So it was kind of like being in a house where a movie's playing in the living room and you happen to be in the kitchen. You overhear it, so I'm not sure how much of it's going to feel familiar to me or that I'm going to remember as it goes. I know it's sort of set in the 60s in Hollywood, hence the title, and it stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. I believe Brad Pitt is DiCaprio's stuntman, but I might have those flipped. I'm not positive. But yeah, it's a behind-the-scenes Hollywood type movie where we see Hollywood people living their lives, and sometimes those movies are incredibly well done. I'm thinking stuff like Get Shorty, but it sometimes feels like a cop-out for a screenwriter. They always tell screenwriters, write what you know, and it's almost lazy, in my opinion, for a screenwriter to write about Hollywood. And while a lot of the world is enamored by the Hollywood scene and loves to see the behind-the-scenes details, sometimes it feels a little self-congratulatory. But I'm excited to see Tarantino's take on this, because he's not your typical Hollywood screenwriter, not by a long shot. And I do like it being a stunt movie. I've worked really closely with a ton of great stunt performers in the Vancouver community. We have an incredibly strong stunt community here in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm interested to see a little light shed on that. I'm sure some crazy stuff's going to happen, because crazy stuff always happens in a Tarantino movie. Without further ado, let's get right into it. This is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Let's go.
Whether you're dead or alive, you're just a $sign to Jake Cahill on Party Law. Thursdays at 8:30, only on NBC.
Oh, it's a TV show. That's awesome. Okay. So that really hit the 1960s feel for sure.
To my right is Bounty Law series lead and Jake Cahill himself, Rick Dalton. And to my left is Rick's stunt double, Cliff Booth. So, Rick, explain to the audience exactly what it is a stunt double does.
It's that fall off wrong and I sprain my wrist or a twist my ankle. Now, that can put an undue burden on production, because now maybe I can't work for a week. So Cliff here is meant to help carry the load.
And any top-notch actor I know has an incredible amount of appreciation for their stunt doubles. I think it's only the bad actors that feel that a stunt double is somehow making them less tough or less macho, or however you want to put it. I'm fascinated to see what the dynamic between these two is. Yeah, there was a time when air travel was still a luxury and a novelty, wasn't there? 1969. So these guys like hang out.
No, that's my stunt double, Cliff Booth. My car's in the shop, so he gave me a ride.
That's a big fucking lie. Rick got his driver's license taken away for too many drunk driving tickets. Cliff drives him everywhere now.
Oh, sounds like a good friend.
I try.
Wow. He doesn't seem thrilled. I hope he's getting paid directly from Rick, not just from the production.
And I watch the 14 Fists of McCluskey. What a picture. I love that stuff, you know, the killing.
A lot of killing.
What is it, basically a 1960s version of Inglourious Bastards? Tarantino's definitely got a thing about burning Nazis, doesn't he? Because that's a flamethrower on DiCaprio's back. And fire stunts are the craziest.
I'll be sure and introduce you when he gets here.
I feel like once you become a Tarantino actor, you stay a Tarantino actor. You see so many faces time after time. Like if Christoph Waltz made a cameo, I wouldn't be surprised.
You've been doing guest shots on episodic TV shows the last couple of years. You always play the bad guy on these shows?
Used to be the hero. Now he plays the bad guy.
Oh, that's an old trick pulled by the networks. What the audience sees is Bingo Martin
Beating up Rick
whipping
Dalton.
Jake Cahill's ass. You see? Down goes you. Down goes your career as a leading man.
Yeah, that's the rough nature of Hollywood. You know, if you get 5 years at the top, you had a great career. If you got 10 years at the top, you're an icon.
It's official, old buddy. Well, it has been. Wants to help me get into Italian movies. Well, what's the problem? I gotta do Italian movies. That's a problem.
Okay? That's how Eastwood started doing Italian movies. I wonder what the timing of the Spaghetti Western trilogy was, because this feels like he could be modeled on Eastwood for sure. Eastwood did Rawhide, I believe, for a little bit before being the man with no name in A Fistful of Dollars, A Few Dollars More, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
All is one, all is one, all is one.
What do we got here? Some hippiness?
Look, I never had much career to speak of, so I can't say I really know how you feel.
What are you talking about? You're my stunt double. Come on now. Shit.
Rick, I'm your driver, man. I'm your gopher. I'm not complaining, but I haven't been a full-time stuntman for a while now, and
Yeah, it's a short-lived career, too. I know a ton of stunt guys, and they definitely start angling for those coordinator roles by the time they're in their mid-30s. I know so many guys with wrecked knees, bad hips, ruined shoulders.
Nobody likes spaghetti westerns.
Frank Sinatra, Bill Cosby, and Nancy Sinatra.
Cielo Drive. They really featured that. Are we supposed to know what that's about?
You're not gonna meet him because I don't think you like him.
Why?
Well,
4 men on a search. Each man different.
Fancy car. Who are those guys?
Holy shit. No, that was Polanski.
That was Roman
It was
Polanski.
Roman Polanski. He's lived there for a month now. First time I seen
He's
him.
not allowed back in the States for fear of being arrested on statutory rape charges, I believe.
all right, 7:15 a.m.
7:15.
Out the door,
Out the door.
in the car.
All right, see you then.
I'm always really fascinated by Brad Pitt's choices in his roles, because he could have so easily done the Hollywood leading man kind of roles, and yet he's almost always avoided those. He's never done a superhero, you know. The few times where he sort of picked the classic leading man, the movie hasn't succeeded. I'm thinking about stuff like Troy. You know, so much more often he plays really interesting, psychologically complex characters. That's always really appealed to me. I figure if Pitt's picked something, it's going to be a really interesting role. So many actors wouldn't touch the role where they are playing Leonardo DiCaprio's assistant, for lack of a better word. And yet Pitt seems fine with it. That belies a real confidence, and tells me he takes the craft of acting a lot more seriously than the role of fame. And yet he's famous despite that. Every Tarantino movie feels like a period piece, even the ones that ostensibly take place modern day. I'm thinking the Jackie Browns, the Pulp Fictions, the Reservoir Dogs. They all feel like they're set decades ago. That they've got so much retro style to them that they're kind of timeless. So it's always fun to see him do an actual period piece like this. He lives in a trailer next to a drive-in theater. Wolf's Tooth. There's one upside down. Raccoon flavor, did that say? I wonder how much of this old footage is real old footage and how much of it was kind of made for this show. I mean, obviously, Bounty Law is something that they shot for the show, but what about this stuff? I don't know. It doesn't feel like Rick's paying him very much.
So, Johnny, what else you heard about me?
I heard you're pushing Lancer pretty hard, but Lancer has money. At some point, he's gonna hire some guns.
There was a transition in there, but it feels like a oneer. What a great shot. Obviously, those 6 girls we saw dumpster diving, that's gonna tie into the story at some point, but I really don't. I'm really curious to see how. Margot Robbie's just stunning, isn't she? The Playboy Mansion. That's awesome. And what a great Chiron. Oh, and let's just say who we've got here. Steve McQueen, Michelle Phillips. That's hilarious. Tarantino's always had a really bold and clever way of playing with graphics and chirons and text on screen.
Jay loves Sharon, that's what's up. And he knows.
Is that
and one of these days that Polish prick's gonna fuck things up, and when
is that does, Sharon Tate?
Jay's gonna be there.
Was Sharon Tate married to Roman Polanski? I feel like she was. And this is summer of '69. Does that mean we're going to get into Manson? I had no idea. Is this a Charles Manson movie? If it is, that's crazy, but I could totally see Tarantino going there. And you got to know your history to see that coming. Otherwise, it's a lot less obvious. Fascinating. I mean, they're being so specific with the dates. I feel like we're leading up to something, because dates don't usually matter quite so much in Tarantino flicks. He's making a point of leading up to an actual historical event, I think.
You talk to the stunt gaffer about me today? That way I know if I'm working this week or not.
Yeah, I've been meaning to tell you, the guy who gaffs this, best friend of Randy, the guy from the Green Hornet, so really ain't no point.
When you're in Cliff's position, he sees Rick basically as his meal ticket. His career's on pretty much over as well, so if he doesn't stick with Rick, it's the only thing he's got.
First off, I want to give him a mustache. A big, droopy, Zabata-like mustache. Now, about his jacket.
I mean, this stuff is theatrical, but there's no way that these conversations would be happening on the day of in the trailer. He'd have gone in for a fitting beforehand. They would have talked this stuff over with the director or the producers at least the week before. Okay, so who are these girls? I wonder if they're related. They're part of the Manson family. I'm reaching now. Oh, but Pitt's gonna give him a ride.
Heaven Sent Fragrance by Helena Rubinstein.
I love all the texture that they're adding by these bus advertisements, the radio commercials. Like, it really does an awesome job of defining the era. It's so cool. That's what tool belts are for. The irony is that was probably Brad Pitt's stunt double doing those jumps.
Now, I admire Cassius Clay, I do. What I admire is, in
Bruce
his
Lee?
sport, there's an element of true combat. When Cassius Clay meets Sonny Liston in the ring, that's not two athletes posturing. That's combat. Two men
When
trying
did
to
Cassius
kill each
Clay
other right
change
now.
his name to Muhammad Ali?
If you don't beat him, he kills you. Did I say something funny, stun man?
Yeah, you kind of did.
What's so funny?
You're a little man with a big mouth and a big chip. And I think you should be embarrassed to suggest you be anything more than a stain on the seat of Cassius Clay's trunks.
We get into a fight, I accidentally kill you. I go to jail.
Anybody accidentally kills anybody in a fight, they go to jail. It's called manslaughter. And I think all that lethal weapon horse shit is just an excuse so you dancers never have to get in a real fight.
Uh-oh. Brad Pitt
That's a great idea,
loves
Kato.
his food, doesn't he? Eating mints in the car, having a carton of milk. It's definitely Bruce Lee, because this is the set of Green Hornet. Great way to show how good the stuntman is.
Get the wardrobe off, get your shit, and get off the lot.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you can't beat up the series lead. It's just one of those rules. Even if the lead is a arrogant mofo. And also he can handle his own against Bruce Lee, so now we know how good Cliff is.
Well, Terry and Candy don't live here anymore. This is the Polanski residence now.
Really? You moved?
Is that Charles Manson?
You know where?
Are we supposed to know this, or is this supposed to
It's okay,
come
honey.
come
It's a friend of Terry's.
as a surprise?
Man.
It's fun seeing the old film cameras and the massive lights on set. Nowadays, you know, with the shift to digital and LED, the equipment's become a lot smaller. You certainly don't have those giant film cans on top of every camera, that's for sure.
What are you reading?
Well, it's about this guy who's a Bronco buster. It's a story of his life. Now, when Easy Breezy was in his 20s and young and good looking, he could break any horse that you could throw at him. Back then, he just
And obviously,
had a way.
this story will be a mirror
Now he's
to
into his
to Rick's life.
late 30s and he takes a bad fall and messes up his hip.
What's happening to Easy Breezy now?
He's
taking whatever work he can get.
He's not the best anymore. He's coming to terms with what it's like to be slightly more useless each day.
There's something weird about Tarantino films. Like, actors often feel like they're going over the top, but somehow it doesn't get melodramatic or weird.
It's okay, Caleb.
He's so committed to that tone that it somehow works. Hey guys, so that is part one of my reaction to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. As soon as I got into the editing process of this, I realized I would probably have to turn this into a two-parter. There's just too much cool stuff to talk about, and I didn't want to trim too much out just to beat a copyright check. So this is part one. Part two will be following shortly, probably in a day or two, so keep an eye out for that. Until then, stay healthy, take care, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.